Hello everybody, welcome to the Totally Original Command Tower, and this is our Totally Original Deck Tech on Jeleva. This is a interesting commander. It's in the Grixis colors, my favorite set of colors. It is an interesting commander, and when it enters the battlefield, you exile the top X cards, where X is the casting cost of your commander. This applies to all the players. I can play it one of three ways. I can play it as a mill deck, I can play it as a mass removal deck, and I can play it as an answer deck. I wanted to build it this way because in my play group, there is a lot of out of control behavior in the way that people play Battleship. I prefer to not allow battleships to get set up. I prefer to shoot them down. That's why I built it to be very flexible with my group. Her second ability, which is the important part, is that when she swings, I can cast any instant or sorcery removed by her ability. I can play my opponent's, I can play my own. If I exile any of their combo pieces, important ramp, or anything that I might want to play with in forms of instants and sorceries, it's all for the better. Because her ability works from the top of the deck, there's an amount of randomness assorted with that. The way to fix that is by fixing the top card of your library. I run cards like Brainstorm, Temple of Malice, Tomorrow Azami's Familiar, Precognition Field, and Limdul's Vault. Aside from Tomorrow Azami's Familiar, the rest of these cards allow me to see the top card of the deck and work with it. Limdul's Vault gets to set me up. I get to pay life, and I get to look at 5 cards, continue this process until I have set up a nice cast for Jeleva. Temple of Malice is a nice scry. Early game it's fine, mid game it's fine. Precognition Field, it's a new card that came out in Dominaria. I may look at the top card of my library, similar to that of Visor of the Menagerie, and I can cast any instants or sorceries off the top. I can also exile the top card of my library if I so choose. If I'm in a situation where I know people are going to be flipping the top card with, let's say, a Tali or another card that plays with the top of my library, Mind's Dilation, things like that, and I know I've put a bomb on top of there, I'm going to exile it so they don't kill me. Brainstorm, we don't have to talk about Brainstorm. Tomorrow should be a Dream Cache, which is draw 3, put 2 back on top or bottom. I still like Tomorrow. It fixes my draw, it lets me look at the top 3. It's a 1-5 for 6, which is a little much, but I do like to anticipate every time I draw. Speaking of draw, we do a lot of that. Whispering Madness is the most powerful among them. Whispering Madness is for everyone discards their hands and draw equal to the greatest number of cards discarded this way, and then it has a Cipher ability. I will then confirm the hit and cast again, which is not bad at all. This runs into the mill. It also allows me to see more cards. The graveyard is not an enemy in this game. Reforge the Soul is also good. Wheels. Miracle Wheel, if I'm going to be setting up the top card of my library anyway, might as well. Blast of Genius, select a target, draw 3, discard a card, and deal damage equal to its CMC. Plead for Power is a draw 3 for 4, because it has the Will of a Council ability. I either draw 3 cards or I take an extra turn. Most of the time I'm drawing 3 cards for 4. I am not going to complain about this. If people think that I can deal with a threat at the table, they will give me the extra turn. We want to go through our deck. The worst thing in the world is hitting 4 lands. So we run Terramorphic Expanse, Myriad Landscape, Grixis Panorama, Evolving Wilds, a Rocky Pit, and a Scalding Tarn. The Scalding Tarn I just got in Master 17. I don't suggest getting it. Another fetch land is just fine. Aside from that, we have Muddled and Mixture, a counterspell that can also be transmuted to find any 2-drop, which means I can go and find this Diabolic Intent. If Jeleva has no more targets to cast off of, I can sack her and search a card. I like that because then I'm going to set up for another cast with her. Diabolic Tutor, and then Increasing Ambition. Increasing Ambition is one of those graveyard cards we like to use. 5, search 1, not so good. We can discard this or we can get it for free with Jeleva. From graveyard, we're going to pay 8, get 2. And I'm okay with this in late game especially. With all these search cards, we're going to be looking up threats. If I need to take an extra turn, I don't love doing this. However, sometimes I would really like to confirm the kill. Temporal Mastery, I'm setting up the top card anyway, so that Miracle seems just fine to me. And Temporal Trespass is fine as well. We're going to be putting enough cards in our graveyard anyway, so I am just going to use this for 3 mana, get an extra turn. This seems fine. Cards that should win us the game. An Epic Experiment in the late game, maybe 10, even 5. I still love it. It's the reason why I play blue-red. Past in Flames, we're setting up enough cards in our graveyard. I'm going to want to cast them again, and Flashback with the ability to flashback and give everything flashback seems fine. I'm having a flashback. Sphinx Bone Wand and Scroll of the Masters. Sphinx Bone Wand takes a lot of setup. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, put a counter on it, then deal damage equal to the number of counters on it. Sphinx Bone Wand should be confirming the game. If you have it on the board for more than 2 turns, Scroll of the Masters is very unassuming. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a lore counter on it, you pay 3 and tap it. Target creature gets +1/+1 for each counter on it. If you get it early game, you get it mid game, you're going to have enough counters to make Jeleva a lethal damage, commander damage over 2 turns, and that flying is not bad. Torment of Hailfire, you should copy this 3 times and win. I don't want to explain this card. This card is very good for 2 black and then X. Vial Smasher, this card is banned in 1-on-1. We have enough high mana cost cards that someone should be taking 6 every turn. Consuming Aberration. This leads into the mill. It will become very big. You're casting other people's spells, putting cards in their graveyard. Every time you're casting a spell, they are milling to make it bigger. Make it a threat. Make it something they're going to have to actually use removal on. And then Gutter Snipe. He's just going to be dealing 2 damage. He's a more consistent Vial Smasher in the fact that he will be doing that damage more frequently. Big swing cards. We have Curse of Cabal. 10 mana. We cast it for free with Jeleva. Someone is losing half of their permanents. This is just devastating, especially in the late game. Devastation Tide, Miracle, flip top card, put all non-land permanents back into owner's hands. This will hurt you. It should hurt other people the most, especially in a format where you see a lot of battle cruisers. Decree of Pain is one of your draw cards. It also destroys all the creatures on the board. You draw equal to the number of cards, number of creatures destroyed this way. They cannot be regenerated. You can cycle it for 5 and deal -2 to the entire board, which will keep your commander alive and keep all of those little tokens that people are attacking you with. It will kill them. Evacuation, return all creatures. This puts Jeleva back in her hand. Then we can do that 4 mil again. Gurk's Wake, destroy everything that's not yours. Stronic Resonator helps. You get to use 2 cards on attack instead of 1 because it's a triggered ability. Beacon of Destruction, if someone's trying to mill you out or you're running out of cards, you can just use it over and over and over again. It's 5 damage for 5, but it goes back, which is okay. Snap, it is a free put Jeleva back in your hand and untap lands that you were using. Isochron Scepter and Elite Arcanist, very useful tools. You can use your instants over and over and over again, and it makes them want to use removal on this stuff. Oblivion Sower is additional. It's on cast. However, you are exiling lands off of Jeleva anyway, so targeting a player like a green player with this is very satisfying. You can use that for colorless mana. Rakdos Charm deals with tokens. Capsize, because the buyback is included on the cast, you get to put the card back in your hand and put a card back from the board into a hand. Cruel Ultimatum, just value, and if we're getting it for free, we're getting it for free. If not, 5 life is sometimes very useful. Now, I've listed a bunch of cards. Let's look at the copy spells. Geist Blast, very unassuming, deals 2 damage, and you can use it from graveyard as an activated ability. Increasing Vengeance, you can use it from the graveyard. Primal Amulet, very good, flips into a land that taps for mana, and you can then copy spells you cast with it. With your untapped cards, it becomes very useful. Reverberate, good. Swarm Intelligence, good. We have counters. The strongest counter, but the most expensive, is Time Stop. You basically counter one of their cards and stop their turn. If they are going into an infinite, this card doesn't help, which is upsetting. However, I am not opposed to using this if they're about to swing in for lethal. Pact of Negation. I wish I had a Force in this deck as well, but I'm fine with this Pact. Summary Dismissal. Exile all other spells and counter all of their abilities. Counterflux. Can't be countered. Counters everything on the stack as well. If people start getting into a counter war, you just go, fuck all of you. Rewind and Unwind. These are your untap spells. I like these because you can use these and then have an additional counter as well. The only card that I feel is bad that I'm choosing to put in here is Mage's Contest, because it becomes a pissing match. It's 1 generic and 2 red. If you hold up 2 red, people don't think you have a counter. They think you have a copy spell. It's just fucking funny. You and your target player bid your life, starting with 1. If your opponent bids higher, they lose that life, and then they continue the spell. If not, you counter the spell. If they go above 5 for this spell, I'm just going to give it to them. Unless I think they're going to go higher for it. This is fun because it's a burn spell. Enable, Swiftfoot is nice protection. It's also hexproof and haste. We need that. Hammer of Perforos is that haste as well. Sometimes you just need to sacrifice a land to create a blocker, which is not bad. We don't run that many creatures. And then Teferi's Realm. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player chooses one of their permanent types minus planeswalkers, which is enchantments, artifacts, creatures, and lands, and that phases out. This becomes rather annoying. I want them to use the removal on this card. We got Recursion, Niv-Mizzet Mastery, Pull from the Deep, Kess, Volcanic Visions, and Spelltwine. Volcanic Visions can be used as a board wipe. This should win you the game, or it's just point Recursion. Pull from the Deep, you get to put 2 important cards back. Flashback every turn on a body for a 3/4 for 4, seems good. Spelltwine, I get to use someone else's tutor or ramp or whatever, and I'm still using the card I want to use. Then the last piece is we have a bunch of artifacts to kind of keep us consistent. Signet, Darksteel Ingot, Soul Ring, Rakdos, Talisman, Command Sphere, Chrome Lantern, Thought Vessel. They're all rocks. They're all rocks. The biggest thing this deck has a problem dealing with is very fast red decks that is going to punch you in the face as hard and as fast as they possibly can do. We don't like late game because we run out of steam in late game if someone starts comboing off and we're still trying to do setup. If someone starts milling your stuff and you're not hitting any of your important key pieces, this is why a Elixir of Immortality or keeping that Kess handy is very good. If someone's playing blue and is countering all your spells, that's a little obnoxious. Large flying tokens hurt. Dragons is one of our worst matchups just because dragons punch face very, very hard. And thanks to Dragon, things get out really, really fast. Thanks to Scion, things can just lethal you in 1 turn. So dragons are scary. Otherwise, this deck does very well. Tokens can be an issue, but you find that Rakdos Charm or you find that those board wipes, you're taking care of the problem. If you have any comments or suggestions or things you think M19 might add to this deck, that would be great. If you want to see how this deck works, you can see it when we play these decks out at the next Commander game. This has been Falcon with Totally Original Command Tower. Thank you so much.